Hey everybody, Jeff, the executive gardener here. EG. Hey, one of the things that I get pretty often from my viewers is everybody wants to know what's up with the worms. Not my worms, but the actual worms that I have in the bin. I'm just kidding. They see the plants that I grow. I talk a lot about worm composting, and everybody's interested in the worms. So I got a bunch of worms about a year ago. I got two varieties. I got the red wigglers and the African Nightcrawlers. And I'll talk about the difference between the two, but they produce incredible castings for me that I put in all my plants. Those of you can watch other casting videos. I'm not an expert on worm castings or what to do. All I do know is that it's effective. It's a great way to protect your plants, build their immunity from disease and all those type of things, and provide a ton of nutrients. So at its core, what you think about is a worm. So it ingests the scraps, the food scraps you put in there, the fruit, the vegetables, eggshells, and then it excretes the castings. And those things are odorless, but they're extremely beneficial to your vegetable plants and all those type of things. And so it's worked for me. I don't know the science of all of it, but it's worked. So you think about, what do you want to put into this bin? So I have one called the not the worm. I can't remember this, but anyway, it's a sack that I bought online. It's not the worm in, I don't think, but I put the scraps in. Here's my red wigglers, and I put food scraps and shredded paper. So you want a certainly food source, and then a carbon source being your paper, cardboard, stuff like that. And in this bin I have my African Nightcrawlers. I'll show you in a second. Same thing. But one of the things I really want to stress when you do worm composting is what to put in there. So if you think your basic nutrients, NPK, so nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So I love to put bananas. Inevitably you get bananas and they spoil. Put them in there. It's potassium. They ingest it, they excrete it, and you have potassium in your worm castings. Also, one of the other great things to put is eggshells. The calcium from the eggshells, they need some type of grit. Now you need to break it up really fine, but they do ingest it, and they provide calcium for your plants. I have apples in here. Stay away from citrus. I wouldn't advise putting citrus in there, but or any hot type of pepper, but sweet pepper is fine, and all that type of stuff. So my daughter's on the camera. I'm going to ask her to come in. I'm going to show you an update of what it looks like, how the worms are doing close up. So stay tuned. Hey, so I'm going to ask my daughter to come on in here. I'm going to show you my African Nightcrawlers, and there's a bunch of bin here. Now I have two big bins of African Nightcrawlers. So what you see in the bin here, Jen, if you get a little closer, kind of zoom in here. Don't worry about looking at me, but you'll see here I've got a bunch of shredded paper. I've got coffee filters. You'll see the eggshells I talked about. There's some fruit. There's that banana I talked about. But zoom in here real good, Jenna. Let's show over here. I'll show you kind of where the worms are. Now when I do this, you don't want to really touch the worms with your hands. There's oils on your hands that could impact the worms. So, and don't use a metal shovel because you'll cut them right in half, quite frankly. So if you take a look at here, let's take a look what's going on in the worm composting bin. And so you take a look at this. So here's a few African Nightcrawlers. There's one there. And what you see me sifting through is, at this point in time, is mostly castings. So again, there's no smell to it. It actually smells a little bit like coffee, but there's no smell to it. And these things, these little buggers, this is a baby African Nightcrawler, as you can see here. They don't like the light, so they're not that active. But underneath, let me see if I can find a bunch of them. Let's see, there's a few. Here we go. So if you take a look at this, you'll take a look at I had them here somewhere. They hate the light, so they go to the bottom. So there you go. So that worm right there, I mean, these things are just unbelievable eaters. And the other thing about these things, there's one right here, they breed extremely well. Now, they're not typically as big as, the fishing worms, the Canadian night crawlers, but they're very effective at breaking down food, and that's the magic right there. So there's literally hundreds, if not thousands, in this bin, and they're going to do their work. Once most of this is broken up, I'm going to take this, and then, as I did before, what I basically do is, I'll show you real quick. I have a sifter here, and if you look at this, in here, these are dried out, but these are all, it's actually a tomato plant growing in here because it's that nutritious, but this is all castings that have been broken up already. And so what I basically do is I put the sifter on here, as I talked to you about before. You'll look at one of my other videos. You know, I take a clump of the castings, I put it in there, and you sift it through. What typically happens is the worms stay on top. There happen to be no worms in that one, but the worms stay on top, the castings go through, and what you have is worm casting. So that's an example of what just fell down into there. Very rich black castings. So that's the African nightcrawler. And now, one of the things in the winter time, you know, winter it's 50, 60 degrees it gets here at night, sometimes 40s. They slow down a little bit, so it's important to keep a good amount of food in there, because when the food actually creates some heat within the bin, and the African nightcrawlers do like the temperature a little bit warmer than the red wigglers. So this is a little bit more work to do composting in the bin, but let me take a look over here. Here's another one, and this is my red wigglers, and similar setup. It's a lot easier though, because it's in a bag. They're at the bottom. You add food. Again, you have paper and then your food scraps at the bottom. And the red wigglers they can take a little bit more colder weather than the African nightcrawler. They're typically smaller type worms. And then what you simply do is and the other thing I'd say about this, you got to water this a little bit more often in the bin, because the fabric of this soaks it up a little bit and it can get dry. If it gets too dry, your worms will die. But the way this bag works is on the bottom, there's a strap here. You just untighten it, and then you'll take the castings from the bottom. So let's take a look in this bin and take a look at some of the red wigglers that we have in here. And there you go. You see, they're doing their job. There's a red wiggler right there, and there's a few right there. So, you know, they're breaking it down. What you see all here, again, is castings. So all of that black material is castings. They continue to break it down. And I just keep putting food sources in here, and I don't know, take another, there you go. I mean, there's probably hundreds of red wigglers in here, but they're doing a great job breaking this down. But continue, same thing, putting food scraps in here and all that type of stuff. So overall, that's the update for the worm castings. I'm probably not gonna harvest these worm castings until after the winter. Again, keep putting food scraps in to create some heat. But what I'm gonna have here, I have 2 bins like this, African nightcrawlers. And look at this, there's one trying to escape. These things are sneaky. So they try to get out every chance possible. So what I'm going to do is continue harvesting this, and then when I plant my spring garden, I'm going to have a good amount of castings to put in my pots. And again, I'll take the worms out of here, put them in fresh bins with fresh scraps, and then I'll have something for my fall garden. So to wrap it up, the worms are doing great. Everybody asks me about my worms and how they're doing. I'll tell you, it's easy to do. Keep them out of the extreme hot, keep them out of the extreme cold. Make sure it's not too wet in the bins. It's just the right amount of moisture. And everybody goes through food scraps, so anybody can put their food scraps in here. Everybody has newspaper they can put in there. It's easy to do. It's one of the best things you can do for your plants to create nutritious fruits and vegetables to keep you healthy. So worm castings is an easy thing to do. If you have any questions, send me some comments. I'll give you some pointers of how to get started. But those are my pets, my worms, and they're still producing black gold for me and nutrients that I will have throughout the summer. So I want to thank my daughter, the photographer. Hopefully she didn't shake it around too much. Hopefully I didn't talk too fast. But I want to wish everybody happy holidays in 2014, and we'll come back real soon at you with another video, whether it's on worm castings or gardening. If you like this channel, please subscribe to it or send it to a friend that may be interested in getting into things like gardening